You're watching TelecomTV Spotlight on 5G series. It's Wednesday the 28th of February and this is The Slice. Headlines today: leveraging AI and data for the enterprise, ensuring a service-first evolution to 6G, making the business case for network APIs, and building sustainable, customer-focused networks. Hello, I'm Guy Daniels and welcome to Wednesday's edition of The Slice. Each day we are bringing you daily coverage of the major 5G related news and analysis from MWC Barcelona. I'm reporting from the TelecomTV studio, while my editorial colleagues Ray Lemaitre and Yanitza Boyadzieva are covering events from the show floor. So let's now hear from Ray. Ray, sharply dressed as usual, nice shirt there. Looks like you're pacing yourself well for the MWC marathon. How was yesterday evening?
Well, I'm glad the filters we're using are showing me in a good light, Guy, because I'm currently feeling about 108 years old, and I think the last time I had sleep was last Thursday. But as long as it's looking good, that's all that matters. Perception is everything. So yeah, it's the usual roller coaster of meetings, conversations. Even on the trip on the way back to drop things off in the accommodation, there's no getting away from the conversations. They're just ongoing on the street, on the trains, on the escalators. It's never ending. But that's why we're here. We're here to chat to people and have these kind of conversations. So, and there was went to a dinner with some of the BT executives last night. Good to chat to them, in general about what they're hearing and seeing around the industry. And of course, they've been very busy here this week with a new CEO on board, Alison Kirby. So she's been here having a lot of meetings this week and re-engaging with people after a move from Telia to BT.
Great. Well, as you say, it's all about the chat, and there are so many conversations to be had at MWC. But once again, MWC has become a platform for the European operators to call for regulatory and policy reform. We hear it every year, but there appears to be a little bit more urgency this year, as we saw in the show yesterday. Surely something has to give soon.
Well, I think, obviously, as you know, we've been hearing this for years. This is an ongoing drumbeat, but usually it comes from one CEO and 1 year and another. But I would say in the past, maybe 18 months, the pressure has been building, especially around the fair share debate. Some of the industry organisations like ETNO and the GSMA, have been gathering signatures and putting around collective messages. But to see those four CEOs on stage together on Monday, with a united front, obviously they're competitors in multiple markets, but all sending the same message. I'm sceptical about how much difference or immediate difference that might make in Brussels and in the corridors of the EC. But they're making sure that their point is getting sort of hammered home, especially around the economics. It'll be interesting to see what happens, and I think the news today that Vodafone has managed to strike a new deal for the sale of its operation in Italy, I think could be a test, the next test for how these kind of deals are received and dealt with at a regulatory level. And I'll be chatting more about that later on in our news segment.
Great. Well, look forward to hearing that, and great points there, Ray, as usual. Now, before you head back into the maelstrom of the exhibition area, is there anything you still hope to see this year? Any topics that may so far be missing?
I think because AI has dominated so many of the conversations, that means that maybe some of the other equally important topics have taken a bit of a back step. We constantly hear throughout the year, and in fact for the past couple of years, particularly around 5G, where is the return on investment in 5G? Where are the new services? Where are the new revenue streams? And of course that's an ongoing conversation, but it's not really front and center here. It's still very much, it's almost like a technology first kind of thing. Around the halls, you can understand that a lot of the companies here are technology companies looking to sell their wares to the operators. But we're reaching kind of crunch time with 5G, and the overall sort of theme in the industry, not just here at MWC, but from operators generally, is if they're not going to get a decent return on their 5G investments in the next couple of years, then they're really not going to be that interested in investing in what some people are, refer to as 6G or just the next generation, because it might not seem worth it. They'll want the longer tail on what they've already done with 5G. So I think, those getting some more concrete business plans in place around 5G. I know there's talk now about the network APIs maybe delivering sort of new revenues around from the enterprise users and from developers. But, the business case around that is far from proven and still a bit sketchy, I think. So it needs to be more than that. So I think, a bit more focus on the economics and the money as much as the technology. That would be a good thing to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ray. Well, we'll let you carry on with Wednesday and your activities on day 3, and we'll catch up with you later in the show for your analysis of the day. Ray, Yanni and the rest of the editorial team have more interviews with CSPs lined up for you, and will feature highlights of those every day in the slice. And a reminder that we'll be adding new full-length videos to the TelecomTV website all week for you to watch on demand. They'll be posted just as soon as we can. He's back. Tareq Amin helped push Open RAN into the global spotlight and was the driving force behind Rakuten's efforts to disrupt the telecoms vendor ecosystem. Well, he's still a true believer in Open RAN and has returned to MWC in his new role as CEO of Saudi Arabia's Aramco Digital. Ray caught up with him earlier and asked about the ambitions of Aramco Digital within the enterprise market.
Our entire business model really revolves around a basic concept called data value chain, which means data origination, which is Aramco connectivity, data storage and transportation, the cloud, data security for cybersecurity, and the analytics that you apply on top of this data, and the various digital solution platform.
Ray also asked Tareq about Open RAN, its growing acceptance by telcos, and the evolution of the technology.
We created firstly the platform, this unified platform to allow any application on top of it to be built agnostic of what it is. It could be Open RAN, it could be HR, it could be finance, legal. So I'm excited about this, to be honest with you. There's a lot of cool things that is going to come through Aramco Digital in the next few months. Okay. And real products that we could show to the market.
Okay. And you can watch the full interview with Tareq on the TelecomTV website. He also explains how to use Gen AI and a unified data platform architecture to provision network elements for Open RAN. It's well worth watching. Now, does anyone remember 6G? Well, it was all the rage a year ago, but that was before the hype machine turned to AI. The NGMN Alliance has been undertaking essential preliminary studies on the 6G landscape, and understandably it featured prominently during its annual press conference at MWC.
We're not linking our ability to drive more compelling services and more profitability to the emergence of something called 6G. So whatever use cases we believe can drive value and actually make a difference to customers, we will deploy those now. We won't wait for whatever 6G becomes in the future. So again, we're trying to break the normal cycle of thinking that we need to be investing in a brand new thing and it's going to deliver a whole new set of revenues. We're not in that period anymore. We're in an evolution period. So I think back to also responding to Alex's point, we're not being technology driven. We want to be customer driven on this.
Well, we managed to get 3 days into the slice before 6G cropped up, which shows just how much AI is dominating the news this year. The move towards network APIs and exposing network capabilities started last year and is now gaining momentum and support from operators. Initiatives like Camara and the Open Gateway are certainly helping. We spoke with Joe Russo, EVP and President of Global Networks and Technology for Verizon, about his company's strategy towards new API-enabled use cases and how this could lead to new revenue opportunities.
So largely, because we're becoming much more of a software-centric network, I think it gives us that capability to say, hey, we can now expose these kind of things for app developers, enterprises to use. How that evolves is what we're all trying to figure out, right? What are the ones that really are meaningful? And what are the marketplaces? How do customers get them? How do they pay for them? I think all of that is yet to be determined, but I think there's tremendous capability we have that could unlock new and powerful use cases that we're looking to, really promote and lead in across the industry.
Joe also spoke about the ongoing rollout of its 5G network and the advantages of its Cloud RAN platform, and you'll be able to watch the full interview on TelecomTV. Now, it's always easy at a show like MWC to get too caught up in the latest technology and forget that the main purpose of telcos is to provide connectivity and digital services. We spoke to Yogesh Malik, the group CTIO of Tele2, to find out how he is transforming the network in a way that's best going to capture new business opportunities.
I always describe it's a long marathon, but there are sprints in order to get there, and starting with business opportunities is the right thing. Otherwise, we'll build a tech which cannot serve the business opportunity. So the way we do in Tele2, I can explain you. Our purpose is, and our vision is to enable a society with unlimited possibilities of connectivity. So for us, the architecture we think needs to be sustainable, needs to be decoupled with APIs properly, and needs to have a data flow behind in a way that AI can be embedded at the right places in a responsible manner. So that is the way we are thinking. Our networks are shared with a partner, Telenor, in Sweden. And sharing networks means we can build much more deeper network, much more cost-efficient network, and a clean network, which means green.
Yogesh also discussed Tele2's work around IoT, as well as its strategy for APIs. And as with all of our CSP interviews this week, you can watch the full-length version on the TelecomTV website. We are processing them just as fast as we can. As always, MWC generates a significant amount of news, more than we can feature in the slice. So, for the very latest from MWC, make sure you visit TelecomTV, especially the daily What's Up With report. And also, please do subscribe to our long-running 7 a.m. Insights newsletter, comprehensive news and analysis straight to your email inbox. And next week, it's time for the after show, when we analyse the major developments from MWC with our studio guests. I spoke to TelecomTV's editorial director Rayla Matra at the start of the show. Let's now return to the show floor for Ray's analysis from day 3 of MWC.
So yeah, obviously, as we've talked about over the past couple of days, this has been the year of artificial intelligence, or AI, at MWC. But of course, there are a lot of other trends to discuss, and one of them is Open RAN. Now, Open RAN has been gaining traction in the past few months after a bit of a lull between mid-22 and 23. And the big news with Open RAN, of course, was the massive AT&T deal that the US operator struck with Ericsson. But there's quite a lot more going on, other developments too. I mean, Vodafone is continuing to push out its rollout. It recently announced rollout in Romania, and it's got its massive radio access network, RFP, out in the market at the moment, and Open RAN is going to be a component of that. Deutsche Telekom is pushing ahead with its rollout as well. AT&T is not alone in the US, of course. Verizon, with its RAN rollout with Samsung during the past couple of years, means it's got an open RAN ready set of base stations, 5G base stations around the US. And the likes of Mavenir's, Docomo's Orex, which now has NEC on board, and Rakuten Symphony, have been racking up a number of trials, tests, and commercial rollouts in recent weeks and months. So there's a lot more activity in the Open RAN sector right now. And some of the operator big guns got together this week here at MWC, and I hosted a session yesterday on the Deutsche Telekom stand with AT&T, Deutsche Telekom, Vodafone, and also the Telecom Infra project, or TIP, to discuss about Open RAN certification and badging. Now, this is an important topic. It sounds really, quite dull, but this is really important for any emerging technology to have, the certification introduced into the industrial processes of the ecosystem, because it tackles one of the big hurdles that still remains with Open RAN, and that is the systems integration. With certification, it cuts down some of those processes around testing and verification, and it helps the operators to accelerate their Open RAN processes and rollouts. So with AT&T, Deutsche Telekom and Vodafone getting together to push this message out to the market, we can be sure to hear a lot more about this in the coming months, and it means that they're ready to accelerate themselves, and they want the rest of the Open RAN ecosystem to be doing this as well. Now, the I14Y lab in Germany, which is supported by 3 of the major operators there, but particularly by Deutsche Telekom, that's already started its certification process and got the ball rolling. And I expect we'll hear a lot more from the various Open RAN testing locations around the world in the coming months. So quite a lot going on with Open RAN in recent weeks, but also just in the past couple of days at MWC. Now, one of the other key trends in the industry, of course, is sustainability, energy efficiency, green networks. And what's notable at this year's MWC is that messaging isn't as prominent as it was particularly last year. AI has really taken over and all the aspects of AI. But that green networks messaging, it's still there, and it's still incredibly important, a little bit more in the background. But there's quite a few interesting developments going on there. There was an interesting announcement this week from Orange Business and Cisco talking about how, as part of their ongoing and long-time collaboration, that they're pooling their resources around various aspects of decarbonization, the design of products and services to make them more eco-friendly, the measurement of the carbon footprint of the products and services they put out. So they're really collaborating on this, and they're doing this because more and more enterprises are asking for this, much higher up the stack, the list of things that they want from their suppliers. So Orange and Cisco have come together with a sort of a very detailed list of what they're going to be doing together. And Chuck Robbins, the CEO of Cisco, did note that enterprises in Europe are quite a way ahead of enterprises in other parts of the world in terms of their requirements around meeting certain sustainability measures. And this is why Orange and Cisco has got together on this. But just looking around the show floor here, the green messaging is still out there, but it's just not quite in front and center as it was. And then finally, only a couple of days after the CEOs of Europe's top 4 telcos got together on the keynote stage here at MWC to plead for greater leeway on regulation from the lawmakers in Brussels, Vodafone has announced that it has agreed at least an initial deal for the sale of Vodafone Italy to Swisscom. Now, the particular thing that the telcos are looking for is less leeway on in-market consolidation. So how does a combination of Swisscom and Vodafone Italy match up to in-market consolidation? Well, that's because Swisscom already has a business in Italy, Fastweb, which it's owned for quite a few years now. So it looks like the deal there would be combining Vodafone Italy, which is very strong, particularly on business services, with the broadband service and mobile offering as well of Fastweb. So quite an interesting deal there for Vodafone. They'd be getting more cash than they would have got from the deal that was offered to them by Iliad, which Vodafone pushed back on and rejected not so long ago. But this will be an interesting next test for the European lawmakers on whether they're happy to see this kind of consolidation happen within the European marketplace and help these operators to gain the scale that they're looking for.
It's not just the operators that are making the news at MWC. There have been plenty of announcements and developments from vendors. Here's today's roundup of our partner highlights.
So what do you see as the biggest opportunity for Wind River to solve in telecoms?
Well, we're very focused on O-RAN, or the RAN itself, which by definition needs to be highly secure, highly performant, because there are many, many thousands of endpoints, hundreds of thousands of endpoints that need to be interconnected over these networks in a very secure manner. In addition to that, with the advent of AI and other such technologies that are out there, we're going to start seeing inference and data collection and analytics happening at the edge of the network. So we're very, very focused on trying to solve that problem with our customers and our clients.
So what is your perspective on the importance of automation to both CSPs and to the telco industry at large?
The network is evolving. There are new complexities in the network because of the disaggregation of the radio access on the core, and automation is promising a lot of advantages in terms of cost avoidance, or at least reducing the cost of operations, by enabling a more agile time to market, and also by enabling a more, I would say, advanced customer experience, right? There are lots of complexity because of the new layer of the disaggregation, but also new availability of data and data sources, right? If you can extract the value of those data, you can have a lot of information coming from those information, and then a lot of insights that customers can play around them. So definitely is a theme that from an HP point of view is a key in our agenda, is a high priority. We need to look at automation an end-to-end and holistic view, from of course being open in a multi-vendor, multi-technology, but also in a full life cycle of network services. The time you design the service, the time you deploy the service, the time you operate the service. Automation is a full end-to-end theme in our point of view.
So Matthew, what are the new opportunities you are currently seeing in terms of revenue growth in the telecom sector?
It's not just about generating more revenue, it's about can you be profitable with that revenue. And you see one of the big things here in Mobile World Congress has been the whole exposure of AI, and what it can unleash. Think about every customer that makes a call into that call center loses so much of that potential revenue for that customer in terms of profitability. If you can take away some of that operational expenditure in that model with AI, with machine learning, with NLP, generative AI, there is huge, huge potential for the MNOs. So while they should focus on revenue growth, they should make sure that every dollar that they earn or every euro that they earn, they generate as much profitability out of that.
Are there any upcoming projects or advancements on the horizon that you are particularly excited about?
One of the major items is because of the Reliance Jio Radisys acquisition of us, our ability to expand. We will probably become one of the largest broadband solution providers in the world just because of that expansion capabilities. Again, millions of households being connected. From that, the expertise we're bringing to the table is going to allow us to expand into every region around the world. Right now, since the acquisition, our activity has been tremendous. We've had areas from Africa, Latin America, the United States coming into the fold, wanting to utilize our solution set and get the lessons learned from us.
We'll be featuring other interviews, demos and roundtable discussions with our vendor partners. All of them will be available to watch on the TelecomTV website. That's all for today's edition of The Slice. Join us again on Thursday for our final report from Barcelona on day 4 of MWC. Until then, thanks for watching and goodbye.